Hello, my name is Lilian Okibe. Welcome to my channel. Do you have headache and somehow it seems like everything is fine, like you're not stressed, nothing is going on medically, everything is okay, but you just can't seem to figure out why you constantly have headaches, like for no reason, right? If you have locks, there's a probability that the headache may be as a result of your locks. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about the different reasons why your locks can give you headaches. So basically, if that sounds like something that you're interested in, then please keep on watching. Now, the first reason why you can have headaches or why your locks can cause headaches is if your locks have gotten to the point where they are now heavy. Now, this is common with people who have very, very long locks. But even if you don't have long locks, it is also possible for your locks to get heavy. There are several things that people do that make their locks start to get heavy prematurely, even before it gets super long. I have a video on that on my channel where I talk about all the different things that can make your locks start to get heavy. So if you want to watch that, I'll link it up in the iCards if you're interested. But yeah, the first reason why your locks can cause headaches is if your locks have gotten heavy. And the next reason why your locks may be causing headaches is if you're constantly wearing scarves and like head coverings, mostly scarves. Like if you're someone who maybe every time you're at home or even every time you go out, you're always like tying your locks down with like a scarf or like wrapping your locks up with a scarf, this may actually be one of the reasons why you have headaches. Because there's just something about locks that is just like when you have that scarf, it just adds a lot of weight on your hair when you have locks. I don't know why this is, because when you had loose natural hair, you could like tie a scarf all day long and you basically not feel anything. But like there's just something about locks, like if you're constantly wearing scarves, it kind of like adds to the weight, like it adds weight, this like heavy weight on your locks. Like at first when you wear the scarf you may not feel anything, but if you wear the scarf for long hours, you may start to notice that you just have. And the funny thing about headaches caused by locks is that like if you don't pay attention, you may not actually realize that your the headache is caused by your locks, because it's like regular, the kind of headaches where you have that you have when you're sick. That's how it is. Like it doesn't feel like, when you wear like a tight hairstyle, for example, and you have headaches as a result of tight hairstyle, you can feel the tension, right, on your scalp and all the legs. But this kind of headaches that happens, this kind of headache that happens as a result of your locks most likely doesn't have that tension part of it. So even though you have wrapped your locks up in like a loosely, basically a scarf, for the fact that you have a scarf, it just adds weight to the head and it just becomes heavy. Even though you may not necessarily feel that it's heavy, like it just adds weight that just causes your head to ache. I don't know how to explain it, but this is something that you really need to look into. If you're someone who constantly has headaches, try to stop like tying your locks down with a scarf and see if it improves, right? Because this is actually something that many people do not pay attention to, but this is something that can actually make your locks cause headaches if you're always wearing scarves. Now, another reason why your locks can cause headaches is if you're always wearing your locks in ponytails or wrapped up in like buns and stuff. When your locks are wrapped up, right, in like, let me say a bun or a puff, if you wear that style for a long period of time, it just adds weight to the hair and that can cause headaches. And sometimes it's not necessarily like wrapping all your hair up. Sometimes even if you just wrap a small portion of hair, like for people who have like very short locks, for example, and maybe your locks are like falling on your face and it's kind of uncomfortable, so you go ahead and like put maybe like the front portion in like a loose ponytail, just like hold it up in a ponytail or like a bun, just keep it off your face. This is something that can cause headaches. It sounds like really weird, but it happens. Like you can't relate to this when you have loose natural hair, but there's just something about locks that if you just put it, or even if it's just like a small portion of hair, you put it up long enough, you may start to have headache as a result. And if you go ahead and put like all your locks up in like in a ponytail, or you go ahead and wrap it up like in a bun, all the weight of your locks is like gathered on top of your head, and that can actually cause headaches. Yeah. So if you're doing that, you really want to look into that if you're constantly having headaches. Another reason why your locks can cause headaches is if you hardly go outside. Like if you hardly go outside, I'm not saying hardly go out to meet friends and like go to restaurants, like hardly go outdoors, like outside, your hair, your locks exposed to the atmosphere. If you hardly do that, this may actually be the reason why you have headaches, and this is as a result of your locks. I can't explain this. I don't know. Like, this is something that I have experienced personally. Because I never believed that it was a thing. Like, I never thought that it was a thing until very recently. For people who always go from one spot to another, but every time it's indoor, like if you move from your house to your car, from your car to like where you work, or to like, you're always in like enclosed spaces. Your hair needs like air from the atmosphere. I don't know why it is like this. I don't know. I can't explain it. But if you're someone that you never go outside, or you hardly go outside, you're always indoors in enclosed spaces every time. There is never, you hardly go out and like expose your hair, your body, your skin, your locks to like the atmosphere, to the sun. I'm not saying like go and sit under the sun like for hours, but just basically go outside. Let there be direct contact between you and like the elements of the atmosphere. If you hardly do that, this can actually be one of like the reason why you have headaches, and it's actually because of your locks. This happened to me very recently. For like last month, there was a period last month that I was always like, I was indoors for like almost the whole month. Like, I was always indoors. I was hardly like outside, right? And I noticed that I started having like this like massive headaches, and my locks, my head started to feel heavy. And my locks are not heavy. Like, my locks move with the wind. Like, it moves easily. Like, if I put my head close to a fan, like my locks move with air. Like, it doesn't have to be like the super wind. Like, if my locks are close to like something like a fan, like it moves, right? So my locks are not heavy in any way. But all of a sudden, I noticed that my head started to feel like weighed down, and I was wondering what's going on. Like, I wasn't putting my hair in like scarves and like buns and all the likes, you know, all those kind of things. I wasn't wearing any of those things because I know that those things can cause headaches. Because over time, throughout my lock journey, I have realized that like even when you put your hair in like a loose ponytail, even if it's not tight, just putting your hair up can cause headaches. So I know that. And this period, like, I wasn't wearing my hair in any like form of bun or ponytails or whatever, but I just could not figure out why I was having headaches. I knew it was because of my locks, but I just couldn't figure out why. My head was so heavy, you know. So as God will have it, one day I had like errands to run, and so I had to go out, and I was like outdoors like for the most part of the day. Like, for like maybe 4 hours throughout the day I was outdoors, and like it was like magic. The headache disappeared. Like, the headache vanished. It vanished just because I was outdoors like for a while. Like, there was air all over, there was sun, like there was a period where it was sunny and I had like the sun hits me. Maybe it's the fact that when you're indoors you're not getting enough vitamin D. I don't know, maybe that's why. But there's just something about if you're always indoors, you're always in enclosed spaces, you don't ever go outside and go outdoors and like experience the atmosphere, this can actually make your head start to feel heavy, and this can actually give you headaches as a result of your locks. Another reason why your locks can cause headaches is if your locks are always wet or damp. Now, this is like this, if you actually think about it, you see that there's a lot of sense in this, because when you have water in your locks tend to be heavier, right? For many people who have like super like light locks that move in the wind, whenever your locks are wet, you notice that your locks get heavy, right? And like I said earlier, heavy hair, heavy locks can cause headaches. So if you're someone who you're always, water is great, right? Water is amazing for your locks, but you want to make sure that every time you wet your hair, you allow it to dry like completely and as quickly as possible. And that's why I recommend using a fan to dry your locks, so that it dries faster basically, or you go outside, right? But if you're someone who your locks are always damp or wet all the time, or for long hours, like very frequently, this can actually cause headaches, because the water is going to make your locks heavy, and that can like just be so heavy on your head. Now, another reason why your locks can cause headache, and like this is similar to what I said earlier about like you wearing like ponytails and stuff and that. Like, if you're always wrapping your hair up, even if it's not like with a scarf, like if you're always like wrapping, you always want to pull your hair up and wrap it up, maybe wherever you live it is hot and everything, or you don't want your locks like rubbing against surfaces, and like you're always wrapping it up, maybe in a bonnet and stuff, this can cause, unfortunately, this can cause headache. I know that this is like, oh, like what, because many people, like, I know I used to do this a lot, right? Because I'm someone who I'm anti-lint, and so I'll do everything to make sure that lint doesn't get in my locks. And so I used to be one that I'll always like wrap my hair up and like cover up, like if I'm around the house and everything, and maybe I'll probably wear a scarf and stuff to just keep my locks away from fabrics and stuff if I'm not going to be using a pillowcase. Because at the point when I first started out, I used to like carry my satin pillowcase all over, but it got to a point where I got lazy. I was like, it's easier for me to just like wrap my hair up, whether a scarf or whatever. But even if you're not using a scarf, even if like you're using like a headband or like a ponytail holder and whatever, but you're like wrapping your hair up, all that weight is going to be on your head, and all the weight of your locks is going to be on top of your head, and that can actually cause headaches. And even when your locks are not heavy yet, like for the fact that all that hair that you have on your head is on, like for me now, my locks are super short. My locks are still like very short, but this is a lot of hair. Even though it's short, like all this is a lot of hair like shrunken together. So if I put all of this up, after a while I'm going to start to feel the weight, even though like it looks like it's very, very short, and so it looks like it isn't a lot of hair, but it's actually a lot of hair. So you really want to bear that in mind. If you're always wrapping your locks up, this can actually cause headaches, unfortunately. So how do you prevent lint? Well, get creative. Maybe use a satin pillowcase or satin fabric instead of like wrapping your hair up. Now, another reason why you can have headaches as a result of your locks, this one is like common, I know that so many people know this, is if you're always wearing tight hairstyles and tight retwists. If you're always retwisting your locks tightly, that goes like that is for this, you're going to feel the obvious tension, right? And so you know that all that tension is going to cause headache eventually. So if you're someone who always retwists tightly, and sometimes even if you don't retwist tightly, but whenever you retwist, you pop your locks and like you uproot hair strands in the process, the process of uprooting the hair strands, you're like causing like some trauma on your scalp, and that can cause headaches. So if you're someone who always, if you notice that you always have headaches when you retwist, then there's a high chance that you're retwisting tightly. Or if you're always putting your locks in tight hairstyles, you're obviously going to have headaches as a result of this. But the thing is, many people do not know this, but I feel like when you have locks, your scalp becomes like way more tender. Like your scalp becomes like way more fragile, in the sense that you like any little things that when you had loose natural hair you never really felt, like things that was like painless when you had loose natural hair. It's weird. Like it's weird, but it happens. Like when you have locks, all those things that used to be harmless to your scalp and like to you, that you never, like you wouldn't even feel, when you have locks you start to feel them. So like even something as mild as like putting your hair in loose twists or loose braids, like even though it is loose, right, for the fact that you put your hair in a style, like you feel it on your scalp. And if you wear that loose twists or like loose braids or whatever for long, for like up to 4 hours, you start to feel it as headache. I don't know. I feel like locks just like to be left alone and to be left down, to be honest, because most times when you do things that does anything other than like leaving your locks down, you tend to feel it on your scalp. And so if I'll give any advice, if you're someone who is experiencing like those like unexplained headaches and you have locks, try to stop doing all these things that I have mentioned, and you're going to see that the headache is going to disappear. It's going to disappear, because like for me sometimes, maybe I'm feeling funky, or maybe at home I'm just like I don't want my locks all over, and I just like put, maybe it may just be just the front portion, I just put it up in like a loose ponytail and go about my day. Nothing happens, and I just go about my day and live my life. But all of a sudden, maybe like midday, I just noticed that I have headaches, and I'm like, where is this headache coming from? And then I remember that my hair is up like in a loose ponytail, and then I remove I put my head down, and in like about 30 minutes all the headache is gone. Like it's like super weird, but this happens a lot. So all these things I've said, like even though they seem harmless, even though putting your hair up in your ponytail, it's loose, and so you feel like as long as it's loose, there's nothing, like it can actually cause headache along the line. So another reason why your locks can cause headaches is if you're not wetting your locks enough. Locks love water, and so if you go super long, like a month, without actually like wetting your locks, your roots kind of feel tight, especially if you're someone who likes to have like thick, like rich roots. After a while, your roots are going to feel tight when you wet and like rinse your locks. What happens is it helps to elongate the strands of your hair that are down at your roots and allow like all the shed hairs that are probably stuck at your roots flow into the locks, right? So if you're someone who goes super long without like wetting their locks, that can actually make your roots feel tight, and weirdly that actually can cause headaches. So yeah, you really want to try as much as I feel like you should at least wet your locks maybe every 2 weeks or like every 3 weeks, right? Because locks love water. But make sure you dry properly after wetting. Yeah, those are all the things I have to share with you guys. I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you do, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. If you try any of these tips that I have shared and they help to like eliminate the headache that you're experiencing, come back to this video and let me know down in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys in my next video.